Good morning, guys. It's time for another garden tour. It has been raining all morning, and so we are now in the stage of extremely high humidity. By the end of this video, you'll probably see my hair just poof out. But because of all the rain, I'm seeing some really interesting things in the garden, and I think it's going to be a really fun garden tour. So welcome back, everybody, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Rachel and this is Auxhart Gardening. Today is our week 4 garden tour, which means this is the first full month of the garden being in. I am gardening in ground. I'm in South Carolina, zone 7B. I'm in the upstate. And I started this garden from scratch, so if you're interested in how I did that, I do have a video on that. And so I'm going to walk us over to the first section of the garden because I do things in the same order every week so nobody gets confused about what's what because it's all growing so fast. Alright, first off is squash row. This is my little experimental area where I have companion planted squash with beans and marigolds and nasturtiums. And you can see these things are just starting to produce. Some of these are and some of these aren't. And overall, they still don't look super great. It was brought to my attention that maybe it could be a nutritional deficiency, especially because they're competing with all of the grass. And in the bottom of these pits, I put a fairly large amount of bokashi compost, and I thought that would be enough, but it seems like perhaps it was not, or maybe these ones on the end here got a little more, or maybe the grass is a little different. It's really hard to say, but we're seeing, interestingly, so this is starting to vine out. It's growing pretty good. And I have actually my first zucchini. Not sure if it's been pollinated. It would have just opened this morning, I think. And so hopefully I will start seeing zucchini very soon. So in front of me is the main garden. And we're going to start on the very edge. You can see right down this row, this is sunflowers. And if you remember, some of these sunflowers were eaten by deer not too long ago. And really cool, the ones that were eaten, well, some of them, they've split and now are growing like 2 plants. And I did not know that that would happen with sunflowers. Some of these that did not get eaten are a little bigger, but most of these are now split sunflowers, and I don't really know what's going to happen to them now, if they're just going to be 2 heads and also smaller, or what. But I am interested to see, and I am really glad that as many of them came back as they did, because if we look at the other row down this side, not nearly as many of them came back. And I actually planted some new little babies, which you can see they have come up here, and those are in replacement of the ones that got eaten. And that's kind of a recurring theme with the garden today, is stuff got eaten by deer, and most of it's coming back. Most of it is absolutely fine, which is really encouraging to me. And I think that my habanero spray from last week is working some, although I must admit it's difficult to stay on top of spraying it when we are getting so much rain. My second row is started off by a beautiful purple basil. This thing is just so dark and lovely, and I've got a little marigold next to him, and then my row of tomatoes. These are looking great. I have started seeing little baby fruits coming on. And overall, I'm pretty happy with these. A couple of these got chomped by the deer, but not in a really significant way, not like some of the other plants. And I've just been kind of tying them up to the trellis, or in some cases weaving them through the trellis where it's convenient. There's some more babies here. And so tomatoes are doing really great. I have a feeling they're gonna get out of hand really soon. Gosh, look at these marigolds. This is one marigold plant. I got it as a start from the store, and with the proper space and nutrition, it has really just exploded. Same for some of these further down the row. They are looking super healthy, and they are next to some super healthy looking pepper plants. These are planted pretty close together, as you'll see, and that is because the conventional wisdom is that peppers like to hold hands, which is really cute and also really convenient in terms of maximizing your space. And I think I saw on this one, yeah, here's my first Lesa pepper coming on. These were my favorites last year. They are going to be kind of heart-shaped and bright red sweet peppers. Most of these plants have at least one or two little baby peppers on them now, and I'm getting really excited for eventually getting to harvest peppers. I have my one variegated one out here. This is a Buena Mulata, and it's putting on, it will put on purple peppers that will eventually ripen to orange and then red, and the whole thing will be a rainbow, and it'll be gorgeous. And I have this paprika pepper here. This was the first pepper to come on here, and I'm noticing that it is looking a little wilty. You can kind of see all the rest of the pepper plants look happy. This one does not. It obviously isn't underwatered because it just got all this rain. I don't think it's overwatered because I think all the plants next to it would be showing similar signs. But yeah, it is just very suddenly started to wilt. There's no evidence of pests or any damage. It's just dying. I don't know what's going on with that, but if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments. Next in, we have these gorgeous Oda peppers. They're coming on purple. I think they'll probably ripen to a brighter red or orange color or something like that, but I don't actually know that for sure. This pepper right here was the most destroyed by deer. You can see the little stems where it was chomped, and if you kind of step back from it, you can't even really tell. It has come back beautifully and is probably even more bushy and branched than it would have been without the deer. So really can't complain too hard about deer damage at this point. Take a look at this row of beans. These are the same beans that were eaten off, desolate, like barely any leaves left. And this one plant here, this is the only one that was not chomped. The rest of them were chomped. And so you can kind of see that they're all behind where they would have been, but they've all come back and they look like they're pretty much all going to be fine. I have here a few little babies that I planted when I wasn't sure that they would come back. But there's like, I don't know, 5 or 6 total plants in this whole row that did not fully recover. And I'm super happy about that. I think it really speaks to the tenacity of these plants. Plants want to grow. So if you're ever worried about being a bad gardener or doing something wrong, not doing something according to the book, just remember, plants want to grow, and most of the time they'll find a way. Now if we take a look at the row of eggplant, these are looking really great. I've alternated varieties here and it's getting to be pretty obvious. This one is the Nagasaki Long, and this one I'll have to look at the tag. This is Antigua. So I have Nagasaki Long and Antigua eggplants or aubergines, and this is my first year growing these, and so far I haven't seen them put on any flowers, but they look super healthy. There's been a bit of pest damage, but at this point I'm not super concerned about it because it's pretty minimal, and I think the plants are growing fast enough to where they can keep up with that level of damage. At the front of the eggplant row is this cinnamon basil, which is absolutely aromatic and lovely with these purple stems and these beautiful green leaves. It goes so well in salads. It's been going great in curries. And when you run your fingers through it, it smells amazing. I recommend planting it just to smell it, honestly. I got this from Baker Creek, the seeds, and they grow vigorously. Like I planted like way too many seeds thinking that they would have difficulty germinating or something, but no, I mean, and these grew so vigorously compared to some of my other specialty basil varieties like my lemon and my lime basils. So this is a highly recommended plant for me now. Now that these beans are starting to climb, it is not going to be too long before I can take one of those beautiful photos of me standing beneath all these gorgeous long beans coming down from the trellis. These are climbing fast. I think this one is now the tallest. And something interesting to look at, this one side is growing just a little bit faster than this side, even though if you can kind of see the shadow of the tree, the sun will hit these ones first while these ones are still in shade. So that's something really interesting to note. Perhaps these do a little better with just a little less sun, but they're certainly not doing badly by any means. They are just slightly behind. After all that rain, more mushrooms have popped up. These are coming up in droves now. It seems to be two major types of mushrooms that I'm having in the garden. I have these and I have those. That's kind of an older one. But they are coming up pretty much every day that it rains now. And I've said this before, but I will definitely keep saying it for the people who miss it. But mushrooms in the garden are a good thing. So mushrooms and plants have actually formed a symbiotic relationship. The mycelium, which is the part of the mushroom that lives under the ground all the time, that's really the essence of what a mushroom is. The actual like part you see coming out of the ground is just the fruiting body, just like the apple, if the whole tree was underground instead and you just saw the apple, it's kind of like that. And so this network of mycelium under the ground is interacting with your plant's roots and forming the symbiotic relationship where the plant is providing sugars from its photosynthesis to the mycelium, and mycelium are gathering other micronutrients from the soil and congregating them to the plant's roots. So mushrooms in your garden, absolutely a good thing. Look at all of these. I have to be careful not to step on any. There's some more of those tall ones that are fallen over already. Cucumbers are now climbing vigorously. I think this is so cute how they just wrap themselves around things. If you put your finger there long enough, it would probably hold your hand. And I think that's just the cutest thing. Oh my gosh, and I see, I think, my first cucumber flower. These are going great. You can see, as always, the smaller ones are still smaller, but they're still growing, and I have a feeling by next week or the week after, I will have cucumbers to show you guys. In the second tomato patch, which I have not yet trellised still, you can see these plants are much bushier, and that is because these seem to be the favorite targets of the deer. And so I'm like pretty afraid to prune them at this point, because if I prune them and then they get eaten, there's no waiting sucker to grow up and become the leader. And this makes thinking about trellising them very difficult, because if you notice these ones over here, I can single stem them, which means cutting back every sucker or secondary stem and allowing only one main leader to grow up. But with these bushy ones, with these ones that keep getting eaten, I haven't really been able to do that because the tops keep getting eaten off. And in the absence of a gardener, a tomato will grow kind of like this. They'll be bushy and viney. They go out across the ground and set out roots where their stems touch the ground. And that's just how tomatoes naturally grow. And so by not pruning these, I could just let them grow normally. The biggest reason that we prune tomato plants and trellis them up is because if you leave them like this, a lot of times the fruit will sit on the ground and rot before you can get to it. And that's no good if you're growing tomatoes in order to eat them. But in this case, I am highly considering just kind of letting them do whatever as sort of an experiment to show you guys, but also because the deer haven't given me very many other good choices. This small area of corn that I planted is looking great. I planted 2 kernels per hole, and so you'll see a lot of them are doubles. And I was going to ask you guys if you think that it'll be okay if I leave it that way, or if I should chop one from each little section. Because a lot of times plants, when they have plenty of space around them and then there's 2 next to each other, they will do fine. But I don't know, I've never grown corn before and I don't know how sensitive it is to overcrowding like this. So if you are somebody who knows, let me know. And this plant is another example of something that got ate by deer. You can see the remnants of some of the leaves that got eaten, and it was actually pretty eaten down just a few days ago, and this has bounced back vigorously. So has its friend next to it. It was missing fewer leaves, but you can see chunks are definitely missing. And the rest of the row is fine. Gorgeous, giant squash plants. And if you've forgotten, these are alternating winter squash, zucchini, winter squash, zucchini, so that when the zucchini are done producing, I have more room for the winter squash, because those will take a lot longer to ripen their fruit. It is a little bit of a common misconception that winter squash are grown in the winter. They are actually grown at the exact same time as all these other squash plants, and the only difference is the variety and also how long you let it go. So for example, we can compare zucchini and pumpkins. Zucchini are commonly known as a summer squash and pumpkins are known as a winter squash. They both grow at the same time, but we harvest zucchini when they are young, when the skin is still soft. And if you think about it, when you open up a zucchini, you usually don't see very big of seeds. So that fruit is not a mature fruit, and you can eat it, skin and seeds and everything. Whereas with a pumpkin, we let it go a lot longer, and then it develops this really thick rind to it. And that's what helps it store long term. It stores over the winter, thus the name winter squash. But any squash can be a winter squash or a summer squash. And if you let a zucchini grow long enough, it will develop that thick skin and it will develop seeds, and it will be able to be stored over the winter. Although a lot of times the reason that we harvest zucchini early as summer squash is because they don't taste so good as winter squash. But if you wanted to harvest a pumpkin early and eat it with a soft skin, that is something that you could absolutely do. Y'all, I set up my chair in front of my garden this week, and it is the best decision that I have made so far. Last night I was sitting here and watching it get dark, and my little wind chime lights up because it's solar powered, and there were fireflies and cicadas and crickets, and it was just beautiful. Something else I did was I got this little bee house. It's not clear if anybody's living in it yet, but this is supposed to be habitat for native bees, which I think can be really important. I don't know if you guys can see through the camera, but there is about 20 bees all visiting the little flowers of the lawn right along here. And I'm not entirely sure what kind of bee they are. They might be carpenter bees because they're kind of the fat kind. But these are the kinds of bees that I'm hoping can make a home in the little house. While I love watching the little bees pollinate everything, the lawn will need to be mowed soon because of these. I call them stickers, but they're these little spiky balls that right now they're green and soft, but once they dry out and harden, they stick to everything, like little spiky Velcro balls. Not fun for walking through the yard to the garden. So I'm starting to think my potatoes are not going to come up, except for the one that has already come up. And oh look, oh, little bee friend. I think he's got some pollen on him. Oh my gosh, such a cutie. Anyways, so I'm probably just gonna leave these here. Not gonna try and repurpose the pots immediately because I actually feel like I have plenty of space to grow stuff. So for now, we have one potato. We have this entire line of herbs and peppers. My dill is ready. If it hadn't rained, this would be a great time to harvest these seeds. All you really have to do with dill is wait until they look kind of brown like this and chop it off the plant, spread them out to dry. So last week I picked one of these shishito peppers and tried to blister it and eat it, and it was not spicy at all, so I think I picked it just way too soon. So I'm gonna wait a little bit longer on some of these and see if they get some spice to them. And a lot of these over here are spicy peppers. My gorgeous fish pepper, of course, making some peppers down in there. And a lot of these are in the same stage as the other ones where they've got a lot of flowers and just a few little baby peppers on them. But I think very soon we will have a lot of peppers. This is another one of those cinnamon basils, but this one I let go to flower. You can see that gorgeous purple. Oh, and of course the sun's gonna come out and show you that beautiful vibrance. But yeah, we've got Malabar spinach here, which grew back from last year, and I'm kind of just letting it exist however it wants. There's chamomile here, which made some flowers, but otherwise looks kind of sick. So I'm not really sure if that's normal or what. And I still haven't done anything about this sad looking pepper. I've been told I should try cutting it back and fertilizing it again, so maybe I'll get around to that. My other overwintered pepper is a Tabasco, and it is starting to put on its first flowers, or peppers. It already had flowers. Over here, I don't know what this is, but this looks like a bell pepper type. I'm pretty sure I only planted spicy peppers here, but I think the bell pepper type, the only one I had was a sweet. So I'm not really sure anymore. I did have tags on them, but they kind of fell down to the bottom of the pots because these are fabric pots and there's this like little edge where things can just like slip down, and that's what happened. So we've got some surprise peppers. Here's another little bee friend. He's a little bigger. Thank you. Thank you, little bee. Up here on the porch, I would say there is minimal change. I've still been eating these little baby tomatoes from my orange hats. I gave a few to my neighbor and he said they were like the sweetest tomatoes he's ever tried. So that's positive reviews. They are probably not so sweet right now because of all the rain. Tomatoes are going to be sweeter when they've dried out a little bit. Alrighty guys, and that is garden tour week 4. I have a playlist for these garden tours, so if you want to catch up and watch previous weeks, those are all right there in that playlist. And I will see you next Wednesday for our week 5 garden tour. Let's see. Remember, you can follow me on Instagram if you want more frequent updates. I am at Auxhart Gardening, and I appreciate all of you guys for watching and commenting. It really motivates me, and I can't get over how kind you guys are. So thank you. Until next time, I wish you all happy gardening.